dolphins, of course, live in these vast oceanic environments, places that us as humans don't go with regularity, at least most of us. And they spend relatively little time at the surface because, of course, they do their hunting and much of their lives are lived down in the depths of the ocean. And so when they do come to the surface, you get this little window of opportunity to look at how, especially with group living species like the long-finned pilot whales, how they live and how they interact with each other and what group behavior looks like. So pilot whales are a deep diving pelagic or open ocean living species of whale that comes inshore off Cape Breton. This is one of the few places in the world where you can study them. And my project, specifically for my PhD, a large focus of it is how do we study how these groups make their decisions. So is there a leader? Are the decisions being made with multiple members contributing? So I use drones and we fly over groups of pilot whales and we look at what happens when they make these deeper dives, when they leave the surface, whether it's to forage or just kind of as routine and as they travel. And we're looking at the timings of those dives. So the first individual will dive and then everybody will follow consecutively. And so what we've found out from that is that often the whales that are leading these dives seem to be females. And so there's a majority female-led, even though the males and juveniles can also lead once in a while. And that's what in science we call unequally distributed leadership. So all individuals can lead, but some individuals are more likely to lead than others. What they're also doing, which is super cool, is most of these whales that are starting the dives are leading from the left and right flank, so the outside of the group. And you might think that's a little bit weird because we'd think that, you know, leading from the front and center maybe makes more sense as humans particularly. But then you think of cattle drives and you think of how the flanking riders in a cattle drive actually are important for keeping the group together. And so we think that perhaps these whales are leading that dive from the outside edges because they're also helping with this group coordination or group cohesion. And you might say, well, why is this important? Why study decision making in pilot whales? It's actually pilot whales are one of the most notorious species to mass strand. So when you get a number of whales, sometimes in the hundreds, washing up on a beach. And occasionally we do see them before they strand, showing these pre-stranding behaviors. So they're acting different, they're acting weird, there's a lot of spy hopping, a lot of sitting around at the surface. If we understand how they make their decisions and what goes wrong before a stranding, so whether it's a bad decision or a lack of decision and a loss of coordination, we might be able to better mitigate some of these strandings. And some of the strandings, of course, are natural. There's areas where they can't navigate very well and they can get trapped and panicked. But there's also strandings that are due to noises in the ocean that we as humans create. So sonar, seismic exploration, underwater explosions. So if we learn to mitigate some of these, perhaps, you know, when we're trying to drive the whales back offshore and keep them safe from stranding on a beach, maybe with this information, it might be easier to guide them out if we do have flanking boats, for example. And so learning about how they make their decisions and when they make these decisions, the styles they use, whether they're led or whether it's a group decision, is really important for understanding how these events like strandings take place and what we can do to guide whales out safely, or in cases where it is preventable, keep them off the beach.